You know, you look at a web page and you think you see everything, right? But what if I told you that a single page, something as simple looking as a GitHub project, can tell this absolutely fascinating story? A story about an idea, the tech behind it, and how fast things can come to life. You gotta know where to look for the clues.
So that's really the big question we're tackling here. What story can one single web page actually tell? For this, we're going to become digital detectives. We're going to uncover the hidden story inside just one GitHub repository page. Think of it like a little mystery we're going to solve together, clue by clue. And our investigation, it starts right now.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out what this app is even supposed to do. Then, we'll look at its anatomy, kind of like a blueprint. After that, we'll analyze its tech DNA. Then, and this is the fun part, we'll read its diary, the history of its changes. And finally, we'll put all those clues together to see the whole story. This is our roadmap.
Okay, so where do we start? Well, like any good investigation, you start with the most obvious clue, the one staring you right in the face. In this case, that's the project's own description. What does this thing claim to be? Let's find out.
And there it is, right at the top. Todo AI full stack with MC Chatbot. Now this one little line is just packed with information. We know it's a to-do app, right, for making lists. But the juicy parts are AI, full stack, and chatbot. This tells us right away that we are not looking at your average simple to-do list, not by a long shot.
So you hear this term full stack thrown around all the time. What does it actually mean? Well, think of a car. The front end is everything you can see and touch. The steering wheel, the comfy seats, the cool paint job. The back end? That's the engine under the hood, all the complicated stuff that actually makes the car go. A full stack app has both of those pieces, the part you see and the engine that powers it all from behind the scenes.
Okay, so we've got our first clue locked down. We know what it is. Now let's pop the hood and look at the project's digital blueprint. It's folders. Just like in architect's plans, these folders are going to show us exactly how this whole thing is put together.
And would you look at that? The folder names themselves are basically giant flashing signs. We've got front end, back end, and to-do-chatbot. It's like the developer left us a perfect, easy-to-read map of their entire creation.
So here's how all those puzzle pieces click together. The front-end folder, that's the user interface you'd actually click on. The back-end folder, that's the engine room where all the real work happens. And that to-do chatbot folder, well, that's where the AI magic is. All of them together confirm what we suspected. This is a true full-stack application. But knowing the structure is only half the battle. Now we need to figure out what it's made of.
So we understand the blueprint. Now let's get into its DNA, the programming languages that were used to actually build it. This is going to tell us not just how it's structured, but what it's built with. And this language chart gives us our next huge clue. You can pretty much ignore the small stuff. Two languages completely dominate here. Python at almost 46% and TypeScript right behind it at nearly 42%. These two are the heart and soul of this project, and each one tells a very different part of our story.
And here's how we can read that. Python is famous for being the go-to language for AI and data stuff. It's the brains of the operation, almost certainly running that chatbot in the backend. TypeScript, on the other hand, is built for creating complex, super reliable user interfaces. So it's the face of the application, the part you actually see and use. It lives inside that front-end folder. See? All the clues are starting to point in the same direction.
Okay, we've seen the what and the how, but what about the when? And how did this thing even come to be? For that, we turn to my favorite part, the project's personal diary. It's called the commit history. Every single commit is a saved change, like a page in a journal, telling us what happened and when.
The very first thing that just jumps right off the page is the number of commits. There are only 8. 8. That is an insanely small number for a whole application. This tells us immediately that this project wasn't built over months or even weeks. This thing was built fast, like really fast.
And this timeline tells the entire story. Just 2 weeks ago, the very first commit was made. And look at the message, Hackathon To-Do app. So it literally started as a tiny idea for a competition. A week later, a commit just says chatbot. And then get this, just a minute ago, the final change was saved, tying it all together into a to-do AI full-stack app. The whole thing, from a simple idea to a complex AI application, was built in just 2 weeks. That is incredible.
Okay, let's step back for a second. We've gathered all of our clues: the description, the folders, the languages, the diary. What's the complete story we've managed to piece together from just this one web page?
This is it. This is the story. What started as just a simple idea for a coding competition exploded into a sophisticated full-stack application with its own AI chatbot. And it happened in the span of just 14 days. That's the crazy speed of modern development. And the whole story was written right there on the page, just waiting for us to find it. And the best part is, now you know how to do this too. This is your detective's toolkit for decoding any project you come across. First, start with the description. Then, examine the folders to see the structure. Check the languages to find its DNA. And finally, read the commit history to learn its life story. Just 4 simple steps, and you can uncover the story hidden inside any piece of code.
So the next time you open an app on your phone or visit a website, just remember that underneath that polished surface, there's always a story. A story of an idea, of technology, of evolution. It makes you wonder, right? What other untold stories are just waiting to be discovered in the software you use every single day?